Welcome back to another video on RAD terminology. Today we're going to look at words beginning with the letter C. As always, I will not be going through every single term in the RAD dictionary. I'll just be picking out the ones that I feel are most important or the most helpful. Starting off with the word cabriole. So cabriole actually has Italian roots, meaning the leap of a goat, and it's a grand allegro jump where one leg will lift, so the working leg will lift in the air, usually around 45 to 90 degrees, and then the supporting leg will lift to join it. They will beat in the air, and then you'll land in a fondue back on the original supporting leg. So this could be done to the front, side, or back, and you can have a cabriole fermé, which starts and finishes in fifth position. For a cabriole to the side, this is called a cabriole de côté, and it can be dessous or dessus depending on where the working leg starts and finishes. So for example, if your right leg was front, you lift it out to the side, you beat it with your supporting leg, but then you close that right leg behind. This will be dessous. If you start with your right leg at the back, lift it to the side, beat it with the supporting leg, and then close that right leg front, this is dessous. When we beat to the front, it's a cabriole devant, and when we beat to the back, it's a cabriole derrière. A cabriole fouetté is a lovely jump, and it involves rotating 180 degrees in the air whilst you perform your cabriole. The rotation happens en dedans. So for example, if the dancer started facing the audience, they would fouetté away from the audience and cabriole the legs, performing a 180 degree rotation. And it's quite common to include a demi-contretemps here, but we'll look at that later. And a cabriole ouvert includes all of the above, but instead of finishing in fifth position, you'll finish with the working leg in the air and in a fondue on the supporting leg. The word centre means any dancing we do in the centre of the studio away from the bar. So typically most classes will begin with some bar work, and then your teacher will ask you to come into the centre, which means stepping away from the bar and dancing in the middle of the room. And centre stage is pretty self-explanatory. It is literally in the centre of a stage. Next we have Chaîné. Chaîné comes from the French word chained, and it is a linking step. So it is continuous turns on 2 feet, always rotating in the same direction, and this is a travelling step. In RAD, the feet will be on demi-point in a first position. However, other ballet styles may include chaînés in fifth position, which can be a lot harder. Chaînés comprise 2 half turns. You'll have 1 half turn en dedans and the second half turn en dehors. But because these half turns are done in such quick succession, it just looks like a continuous turn. You can start your chaînés either with a fondue into a posé, or you can begin them with a chassé. Next we have the word changé. Changé just means changed in French, so this is a changing of the feet. You could do an échappé changé, for example. You could do a coupé changé. So the word changé will be added onto another ballet step, and it just means that instead of keeping the feet in the same orientation, there is a changing of the feet. Changement also involves a changing of the feet, however it refers to a specific jump where we'll typically start in third or fifth position, or jump in the air, switch the feet and land with the other foot front. You can also have a changement battu, which involves a beat. So you're still changing the feet, however as you jump you will cross the feet, squeeze them together before you change and land. Chassé comes from the verb to chase in French, and it involves the feet starting together, usually in fifth position. Both knees will bend. We'll slide the working leg away from the front leg. This could be forwards, to the side, or backwards. So if it's forward, it's a chassé en avant. To the side, a chassé à la seconde, and to the back, a chassé en arrière. A chassé could be just the working leg sliding away from the supporting leg, or it could be the working leg sliding away from the supporting leg and the supporting leg then catching up with it. Both are chassés. You can have a chassé where both feet remain flat on the floor, or you can have a chassé starting with a pointed foot. You slide the pointed foot along the floor before the heel goes down. And usually this is accompanied with a pas de bourrée, which would give you a chassé pas de bourrée. A chassé could precede all sorts of other movements in ballet. Quite a common one might be a chassé temps levé. So you'll begin in your plie, slide the front leg forwards, push off that front leg into a temps levé in arabesque and land. Classical pose refers to a stationary position where we stand on one leg turned out and the other leg goes to the back with a bent knee and the foot pointed. You might also hear this being referred to as B+. B comes from Balanchine. George Balanchine, being a very famous American choreographer, he loved using this position of the legs. So B for Balanchine and plus because the legs make a kind of cross shape or a plus sign. So it's just shorthand for classical pose, but an RAD will always say classical pose to refer to this position. Next we have classical walks, which involve pointing the feet and brushing them forwards as we walk, and classical runs are like our walks but faster, kicking the feet forwards and pointing them. Next we have a contretemps. Contre meaning against, temps meaning time. This in music is an offbeat rhythm, whereas in ballet it's an offbeat step. So I'll give you an example here of a contretemps that you might find. So if you were to count a phrase, you might go 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Your contretemps won't be on any of the numbers, it will be on the and a. 1 and 2. Coup de pied is a position of the working foot where it is pointed and placed just above the ankle bone of the supporting leg. If it's at the front, this is a coup de pied devant. If it's at the back, this is a coup de pied derrière. And you might also come across a wrapped coup de pied. I personally love working with a wrapped coup de pied because not only does it increase the mobility of the ankle but also the strength. So it's a great position to practice, and it involves having the heel of the working foot at the front and then the toes of the working foot wrapped around the back. So the whole working foot is wrapping around the Achilles tendon. A coup de pied, however, is not to be confused with a coupé. They look very similar, but coup de pied is the position of the foot and a coupé is the action of the foot cutting, starting from a closed position like fifth and then moving to the coup de pied position. So that cutting action is your coupé. Next we have coupé, fouetté, raccourci. Now this is a composite step. It involves fonduring onto the front leg, the back leg will be in coup de pied derrière, and then there is a transfer of weight where we step onto the back leg up onto demi-point, release the front leg to the side around 45 degrees, and then we fondue down onto that supporting leg, going back into a coup de pied derrière position. This can be repeated continuously. It can be done turning. It can be beaten, and that would be a coupé, fouetté, raccourci, battu. And you can also jump it, which would be a coupé, fouetté, raccourci, sauté. Next we have a coupé sauté. We talked about a coupé, this cutting motion, and a coupé sauté is simply the same cutting motion but done with a jump. So we'll jump into our coupé, and this can be done either dessous, which is the front leg, or dessus, which is the back leg. Moving on to coupé, jeté, entournant. This is a grande allegro jump involving a coupé picking up the back leg as we turn on the spot. Then there's a transfer of weight where we release the front leg into a grande jeté. And again, this can be repeated continuously. Kuru comes from the past tense of the verb to run in French, and these are tiny little steps either on demi-point or on point. You can do them travelling, you can do them on a diagonal, you can do them on the spot. They are typically done turned out in fifth position, but you can also do them in parallel. Croisé in French means crossed, and in ballet, croisé refers to the position of a dancer on stage. So this will be the dancer facing a diagonal down stage, and then the leg that is closest to the audience will come front. the position that the legs are in can vary a lot. So we could have croisé devant with a simple tendu that would look like this. Or we could have classical pose, croisé. We could have croisé with the legs in arabesque. So the opposite to croisé is ouvert, or an open position. And so if we take our tendu devant, croisé, the open version of this would just involve switching the leg. We wouldn't change the position of the dancer, because the croisé part, the crossed part, refers to a crossing of the legs from the tops of the hips. And an open position is where we don't find this cross anymore. There's a gap between the legs. Crossed fourth is just a position of the arms. We know our fourth position, and crossed fourth simply involves bringing the lower arm to a first position. A curtsey is typically done by female dancers and will be part of a reverence, or a way of thanking the audience or your musicians. This will typically involve one foot going to the back, either on point or demi-point, both knees bending as the head bows, and usually a low position of the arms before we stretch. Curtsies can be quite elaborate with the arms, but a basic curtsey will be arms in demi-second, both knees bend, the chin drops slightly, and we stretch. So that concludes this video on RAD terminology with words beginning with C. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.